The BMW 3 Series is Australia's most popular premium petrol-powered sedan, but is it the right car for you? G'day, I'm Matt. This channel is called The Right Car, where I help you find the right car for your needs. Do you think the BMW 3 Series is that car? Well, by the end of this review, you're going to find out properly whether it is or not. There's a lot to talk about. This one here is the 330i. It's about the mid-spec model in the lineup, and it's very expensive now. A lot more expensive than it used to be. So, is it worth the money? Is it worth your money? Let's find out. In case you haven't noticed, new car prices have fluctuated pretty violently in recent times, and the BMW 3 Series has copped a fair bit of flack for some of the price increases that it has seen in particular. The entry-level version, the 320i, is now $80,000 before on-road costs. And yes, it does offer quite a bit of standard equipment, but it doesn't necessarily feel like the best pick in the range. And then there's this one here, which is the 330i. It gets more power and torque, and it also gets a bit of extra gear as well, but it'd want to for more than $90,000. That's a lot of money, and this particular car is, as tested, more than $100,000. That's a lot for something that's a BMW 3 Series that isn't a special one. One thing to note about the 330i is it's the only model in the standard 3 Series range that comes available as a station wagon. If you want a wagon, it's either this or the M3 at 180 grand. If you want something that's maybe a little bit special in a different way, there's the 330e. It's a plug-in hybrid version of this car with 57 k's of range, and it's not that much more expensive than the standard 4-cylinder petrol versions. It actually makes a lot of sense. And then there's the really special one, the M340 xDrive. It's all-wheel drive, it gets a 6-cylinder engine, it's got so much more power and torque, also gets a heap more standard equipment, including stuff that you have to option on a car like the 330i, including a sunroof. You've got heated front seats as standard. You also get a Harman Kardon stereo and plenty more besides. It really justifies its relatively high price, but it is actually a fair bit cheaper than it used to be. I reckon that top spec version could be the model in the 3 Series range that you should buy. But tell me what you think in the comments section. Being a German mid-size luxury model, obviously the rivals that you would also be considering are the Mercedes C-Class and the Audi A4. I would choose an A4 if it was me. The one I would choose is the A4 Avant 45 TFSI Quattro. Less than $80,000, and it's a whole lot of car for that kind of money. If you're looking for something that maybe isn't one of those Mercedes, Audi or BMW models, then how about the Genesis G70? It's available with 4 and 6-cylinder engines, and there's a sexy shooting brake model as well. I think it looks fantastic and it feels properly luxurious. And get this, the most expensive G70 is still more affordable than the least expensive 3 Series. How about something that isn't from a luxury brand then? A Peugeot 508 might tick the box for you. It's available as a liftback and as a wagon, and the sports wagon is one of the most beautiful cars on the market if you ask me. Now, there's also a plug-in hybrid version available for the Peugeot. I've driven a plug-in Pug. You might want to hit my review link up the top there and see what I thought of it. It wasn't the best experience. I remember the days when the 3 Series was a compact luxury sedan, but it certainly isn't anymore. It's more than 4.7 meters long, which is bigger than a lot of mid-size SUVs, even 7-seaters. So it's a big car. Whether it's got a big back seat or not, I'll show you in a sec. First, let's check out the boot. Boot space in the 3 Series sedan is 480 litres, which is pretty big, and it's got a very wide opening as well. For a sedan, I think it's a pretty practical option for most people. Remember, it is a fair bit bigger than the 3 Series models that came before it. And it does have quite a bit of space in there. There is no space saver or full-size spare wheel though. These cars run on run-flat tyres, so you don't have a spare. And if you want to know the wagon boot size, well, it's on your screen now, and it's obviously a more practical option if you are a family buyer. So does it feel the money that's being asked if you sit inside the 3 Series? Yeah, it does. It feels properly premium and luxurious, at least if you specify it right. Now, there are some options fitted to this car. I'll put some prices on your screen now so you can see what option packs are included, what they include, and how much they cost. There are actually a few of them fitted to this car. As I said, the price for this car as tested is more than 100 grand, so it should feel special on the inside, right? And it does. I really like the cabin finishes. I like this tan leather. I know people might not agree with me, but I actually like it. The wood grain finish up here looks great too. And obviously you've got these big screens as well. This one's touchscreen, this one isn't, and that means that you've got a choice of using that touchscreen to use all the main controls of the car, or you can use some of the controls down here. There's obviously the drive mode selectors down here as well. The screen itself is pretty easy to get used to. Only some of the climate controls are buttons down below. There is a volume knob, I like that. But there's this hard panel, I guess you'd call it, that sits at the bottom of the screen full time, and it's the climate menu. So basically if you just want to adjust the fan, you have to press a button and then touch the screen. And then same thing if you want to change the temperature, you have to do it on the screen as well. So those little things can get a little bit annoying. But if you don't change the temperature that much, or you just leave it on auto, then it should be fine for your needs. In terms of practicalities, you've got a covered storage bin here with cup holders, wireless phone charger, another big storage bin under here, nice padded armrest as well. You've also got bottle holders in the doors. So from a practicality standpoint, it's pretty well sorted, and all the controls, as I said, you get used to them. All right, back seat. So what's it like being a backseat passenger in here? Well, these seats, they're the M Sport seats on this grade, and they do take up a bit of room. Honestly, I feel a bit stuck in the back here, which is a bit of a weird sensation. They are sort of more like a sports bucket seat, and so they do eat into your space if you're a backseat passenger. I'm 182 centimeters or 6 foot. This one's set for my driving position, so I've got just enough knee room and good foot room and pretty good headroom and shoulder room as well, but I just feel a bit cramped, a bit hemmed in. It's not a very comfortable position. If you are going to use this car for family, if you've got young kids, they'll appreciate the fact that it does have rear seat air vents. You get climate control as well, which is a nice thing to have, but there are some things missing. You don't get map pockets on the seat backs, but you do get a little flip down armrest with some cup holders or bottle holders. You could probably put taller bottles in there as well. This seat here also folds down, so you can use it as a stowage port if you've got skis or something like that. Just make sure you secure your load so it doesn't go flying through and smash one of those lovely screens. There's obviously ISOFIX points in the window seats and 3 top tether points for child seats as well. It might be a bit of a squish to fit a rearward facing seat and be comfortable in the front seat, but just try it yourself if you're in that category. So, not too bad, but just a bit of a strange sensation back here. So there's the entry-level 320i and the 330i, both of which have a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine, but there are different power and torque outputs depending on which one you buy. Obviously the 320i has lower power and torque figures, as you'll see on your screen now, but if you do want to spend extra money to get extra power and torque, then buy the 330i because it does get a pretty big kick up the backside. If you really want the most powerful version in the standard 3 Series range, you need to be buying the all-wheel drive M340i xDrive. It comes with 285 kilowatts and 500 Newton meters of torque, and it has a 0 to 100 time in the 4-second range. So it is properly fast, and it's actually been seen to be faster than that by independent testers who have also found that it's got more power and torque than the claimed numbers state as well. Oh, and that plug-in hybrid version, you'll see the figures for it on your screen now. That's another reason it makes so much sense. It's got more power and torque than the other models. It might be a bit heavier, but it's also faster than the regular 4-cylinder versions. I know, I've rattled on a fair bit about the price tag of the 3 Series in this review, So does it drive like its price tag suggests it should? In many ways, yes, it does. Even in the 330i, which has a very enjoyable 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine, it's got heaps of power and torque, more than most people will probably need, and it is very quick when you need it to be, when you say are overtaking or you're just trying to get away from a traffic light quickly. Those things will make the 330i the right car for a bunch of people, but like I said, it is still kind of expensive. It does drive like a luxury car should drive, I think. In this car, there are adaptive dampers fitted, and they do make a difference to the ride comfort. In comfort mode, things are relatively comfortable, although it is still a little bit sharp over hard edges and bumpy sections of road. A lot of that comes down to the fact that it's got run flat tyres, which have a hard sidewall, so they feel a lot more of the road surface than you might otherwise. And also, in sport mode, it does feel very, very much a firm riding car. So it really depends what you appreciate when it comes to the ride comfort. But like I said, in comfort mode, it's comfortable. The steering is excellent. I find it really quick and direct, but not aloof. And aloof is a word that you might read in a car review every now and then, basically just sort of trying to tell you that you can't really judge what's going on, but you can in this car. So just turning this corner right now, and you don't even have to think. It's a very quick and predictable steering reaction. Other things you should know, it is pretty quiet. You can hear the 4-cylinder engine sort of revving away every now and then, and it's not necessarily unrefined, but maybe a little bit louder than you might expect at times. And there's a fair bit of tyre roar as well, but it's on 19-inch wheels, low profile, run flat tyres, so there's a bit of that to expect. All in all, I think you're getting a very good luxury sedan or wagon if you are choosing a 3 Series, and it's extremely livable. But like I said, if you spend a little bit more in the case of this particular 3 Series, then you can get the M340i xDrive, which is an absolute mammoth of a car and an engine, and I reckon easily worth the little bit extra if you want to option up your 330i. What about efficiency? Well, obviously the leader of the pack is the 330e plug-in hybrid, at least on paper. Now, you may have heard me mention this before, but plug-in hybrids are a bit misleading in terms of the litres per 100 Ks that you will use. So the figure for the 330e is 2.5 litres per 100, but you'll only use that for the first 100 because you're going to have to rely on the petrol engine more, and the electricity will have already been depleted from the battery. So yeah, 2.5 you might get for the first 100, which is pretty impressive if you can. Then you've got the 320i and 330i sedans, and they both use a claimed 6.5 litres per 100 Ks. Then there's the wagon, 330i grade that is, with a 6.8 litre per 100 claim. And as you might expect, the top spec 6-cylinder all-wheel drive version has the highest official fuel consumption figure of 8 litres per 100, and you'll do very well to achieve 8 litres per 100 in that car, because it'll egg you on a little bit more than one of the non-M340i versions. If you're wondering what I've seen across a mix of driving in this car, look, I was pretty impressed, but not blown away by the figure that you'll see on your screen. That was achieved across a mix of different driving, including highway, freeway, urban, and a bit of just the usual traffic grind, run around sort of stuff that you do. The BMW 3 Series pre-facelift model scored the maximum 5-star ANCAP safety rating in 2019 for the 4-cylinder version. So it is still a 5-star car, but just keep that in mind if that matters to you. It's got all the requisite safety equipment that you would expect. Well, almost. It's got autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection, but it doesn't have junction detection like some other new cars do. It's got lane keeping assistance and blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, and adaptive cruise control is standard across the range now too. It wasn't for the pre-facelift model. And you get a reversing camera and a reversing assistant in every single version. Now that can help you reverse out of a tight spot if you're not confident getting out of there. And if you choose a 330i or any of the models above it, then you get a surround view camera. All models come with front and rear parking sensors, which is nice. When it comes to airbag coverage, there's 7 dual front side, a driver's knee, and full length curtain coverage. Australians asked and BMW listened. There's now a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty for the BMW range, which is good, and it matches the other luxury mainstream brands in that regard. Now, when it comes to servicing, the car will tell you when it needs servicing. It's called condition-based servicing, but you can prepay a service pack for 5 years or 80,000 Ks for $2,150, and on average, over 5 years, that works out to be pretty affordable when you think about it. And every BMW 3 Series comes with 3 years of roadside assist included. If I really wanted to buy a BMW 3 Series, it wouldn't be the 330i with option packs, it'd be the M340i xDrive, because it comes with so much more for your money. It's still an expensive car at more than $100,000 for something like this, but it does justify it, if you ask me. Now, what do you think? 3 Series, one of those other cars I told you about, or how would you spend $100,000 on a brand new car? I've got a few alternatives that I didn't list in this video that you'll be seeing very soon, so stay tuned. I'd love to hear from you. Please do leave a comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.